Well, I said it before and I'll say it again. This stinks. Juju Watkins, that's the lead story, which I did not think would be the lead story after UConn took down South Dakota State. I thought it would be a recap of all the great games that happened over the weekend, which we will still talk about, but I will go to the lead first, the Juju Watkins, and then I'll try to find silver linings for USC fans if there are some to find. We will dig hard. I think there are a few positives in this injury, but a lot of darkness, obviously. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. I've done a longer video where I sort of take questions and recap games. If you want to see more of that, I streamed it from my phone. Take a look. All right, here we go. Let's get into this. So, Juju Watkins, as you're obviously aware, coming down on the fast break, got bumped a little bit, and her right knee gave way. They had to carry her off the court. ESPN has confirmed it's a torn ACL, or that's what sources are saying, and that she will have surgery to repair her ACL. Now, this happened in the first quarter, and the rest of the game had the vibe of what the hell just happened. You could just feel it in the crowd. It was like, man, we just lost our championship hopes. And Gottlieb said all the right things in the post-game press conference. We're going to compete and everything else. We have great players. And they do. They've got Kiki Arieffin, Talia Van Oelhoffen, and Rhea Marshall, and Kennedy Smith. So they've got talent, but Juju was the straw that mixed the drink as she carried so much of their offense and had a usage rate of around 33 to 36%. You're just not going to take out a Juju Watkins and be the same team. You might get a little bit of Ewing theory. I think they'll take advantage of that versus Kansas State, where you lose a great player and the team compensates. I suspect Gottlieb will double down on defense, maybe put Samuels in the starting lineup as the point guard, Talia Van Oelhoffen and Kennedy Smith with Marshall and Kiki, and really focus. We're going to be locked down and just try to grind out victories, much like Texas does, but it will be tough, obviously. The good news with, well, is there any good news? But in my opinion, it's good and bad. To have a knee injury right now probably means that Juju is going to be out for 25, 26, which in some ways is good, I think. At least when she comes back, she'll be totally healthy when she comes back in 26, 27. The other thing, I'm looking for positives here. An ACL injury, it's a dime a dozen. Players do it all the time. It's a good recovery. You make a full recovery from the injury. I'd much rather have an ACL versus an Achilles tendon injury. So by the time she gets to 26, 27, she will be 18 months removed from the surgery. And much like Paige Beckers last year, she'll be set up to have a really, really strong season. As well, the young players will have had a chance to develop without her around. Like, they'll have to take on a bigger role, which will be good for their growth. In addition, they have a good freshman coming in, Jasmine Davidson. She's a lefty and can score. So yes, it does stink, but you can look forward to 26, 27, where Howell and Kennedy will be juniors, and they should be really good. Not to mention, you'll have Davidson that'll be a sophomore, combined with a fully healthy Juju. And I didn't even mention Heckle at point guard as well. So they'll be totally set and ready to go. Again, I'm looking for positives. That's the positives I take out of this. That Juju should make a full recovery, and when she comes back, USC should be really loaded. Now, I don't want to focus on Juju Watkins the whole entire video. Let's get, there were some great games on the weekend. Let's get into them. So the one today, Maryland and Alabama, just went back and forth. It was one of those games where a shame that somebody has to lose. I'm glad Sarah Barker hit those 3 free throws to tie the game. At the same time, I'm glad that Puffenbarger didn't lose the game by missing the free throw and then fouling Barker on the three-point attempt as well. Overall, great game. That's why we love March Madness, the one and done. But it's going to be tough for Maryland going up against South Carolina. I note that their South Carolina is minus 17.5. There were 2 other games that I really enjoyed in the second round. So one was Kansas State versus Kentucky. It just went back and forth. You could tell neither team wanted to lose. Obviously, nobody wants to lose. I felt bad Amore missed the last floater. But even after she misses that, I like Amore and Kenny Brooks even more. Just the way they handle themselves, the way Amore handled herself after missing that shot, there wasn't any woe is me or pouting in the handshake line or anything like that. She just said, hey, not going to let the shot define me, and got on with it. You can just tell everybody likes Georgia Amoore. On the other side, just a big victory for Kansas State. So I didn't think they'd get Lee back before the tournament, but she's playing and she's getting better and better. Brooks made an interesting comment in the press conference saying, I think they're better for having to play without her and learning how to play without her. So when she got in foul trouble, was out the court, it wasn't a big stress for them. And he was like, last year we lost our best player right before the tournament. They got their best player back right before the tournament. A big difference, and I agree with that. It's bad luck for Kenny Brooks. He's like, they're too good to be a 5 seed, and that will make things tough on USC. There is no lineup for that game yet. I think it's pretty much even, that game, because USC has the bigs to deal with Lee, with Marshall, Ogunwafu, and Kiki Arieffin. But Kansas State, they've got Poindexter and Serena Sundell. So Kansas State is going to be a very, very tough game. Again, I think it's pretty much an even draw, that game. I am curious to see what the line will be eventually when it comes out. The other game I really enjoyed was Ohio State versus Tennessee. You have the classic cliche, oh, a great match between a boxer and a puncher. Well, this was great because it was two teams, two boxers, if you like, two pressing teams, and Tennessee just got all over Ohio State. Ohio State could not handle Tennessee's pressure, as Tennessee caused 23 turnovers to Ohio State and scored 37 points off those turnovers. In the third quarter, Kevin McGuff had to go small to deal with the turnovers, and they made their 16-point run and were ahead by 1 point. And then Tennessee went back on another run, and they just wore them down. That's what Caldwell thought they did. If I was Texas, I would be nervous. Texas is a favorite. They're minus 8.5. And you never know with Tennessee. They could come out and be cold and be run off the court. But at the same time, they're playing with house money, and because the threes they take, if they hit their shots, then they could easily win this game. It really just depends on if they make shots or not, and if they can hold up on the boards, or if Texas is able to really destroy them on the inside. With South Carolina, not a lot to say about them. They did what they were supposed to do. They won their games. A bit surprised with the Indiana game, how afterwards they were talking about how they felt disrespected by Sydney Parrish, and that motivated them. And supposedly Parrish said something like, South Carolina is not as good without Camilo Cardoso, and because they lost Ashlyn Watkins. And supposedly that was bulletin board material, and Raven Johnson said that really fired them up. And I'm like, man, you were like a 20-point favorite, I think, or 19-point favorite. It was like an 8-point win, I think you got over them. So if you were that fired up, the usual idea is you go out and crush the team by 20 or 30. Don't talk about how their talking really fired you up if you don't blow them out, in my opinion. Crush me if you like South Carolina fan, but that's usually how I think it goes. They talked about us, that's why we ran up the score on them. It didn't seem like this was much of a run-up of the score. Now the last one is congratulations to Hailey Van Lith on beating Louisville. I thought she was good in the post-game press conference. You could tell it meant a lot to her.
It's a blessing, but I really am, I'm really standing on God's shoulders right now, you guys. He's delivered me from so much, man, and so much pain and suffering and confusion, and I just, it's all glory to God, truly. I would be nothing without him, and in the darkest moments of my life, he never turned his face from me, and I just couldn't be more grateful.
I'm really looking forward to TCU and Notre Dame matching up. I will do a breakdown video of that later in the week. The other one, I forgot to mention, Baylor versus Ole Miss. I thought that was another really, really good game. My overall take on that one is just the SEC, Ole Miss had been hardened through. I thought they were both similar, but I thought Ole Miss had been hardened through SEC conference play. So by my count, the SEC has 6 teams through, the ACC 5, the Big 12 and Big 10, 2 teams each. And then, of course, the Big East, they got their 1 team. Yes, UConn. My only gripe with UConn would be, Gino, get the players out at the 5 minute mark. Don't let Paige play till the 3 minute mark. The other one was Aubrey Griffin played in the fourth quarter, so she did back up. So it looks like her knee is coming along okay. Lastly, we'll finish off with rapid thoughts. UCLA, you did what you had to do. Your lineup is looking good going through all the way to the Final Four if you can get it done. LSU, the big three is back, and your offense looked pretty darn good versus LSU. North Carolina and Duke, you both got it done. Duke without Fournier. Hopefully she will be good to go when you meet up with North Carolina. It'll be fun, Tobacco Road. And lastly, Oklahoma, that offense looks good. It looks like Regan Beers. I was worried about her nose because I recalled when she fractured it last year with Oregon State when she took an elbow from Kiki Rice. So it looks like she's okay. And the matchup with UConn should be interesting. That should be very almost like two boxers going at it, much like Tennessee and Ohio State. Teams that play similar motion type offense that can score really well. It'll be fun to watch. Anyway, now over to you. All your comments are welcome. Wishing Juju Watkins well. It's sad about that injury, but still, I think there's a lot of good basketball to come. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.